If you know very much about me, you're probably aware that there are a couple of people that I spend part of my time listening to. I don't try to spend too much time listening to anybody, but there are certain people that I consider worth my time, and I will take the time to listen to them. And one of them is Dan Bongino, but I respectfully disagree with Dan on one thing that he says for a couple of reasons. He talks about the idea of the public and the private person, and I believe there is a sort of a private person, but when you are that private person, you must make sure that there's nobody following you around with video cameras or some other way snooping in on what's going on, and if they do, you need to realize that that becomes part of the public you. Another piece of that I want to bring up is these days, I think pretty much everybody has a part of themselves that maybe they consider personal and private that they've taken the time to put out in public airwaves, if you will, and I don't think that that's necessarily a grand idea, but people do it, and particularly people when they're young do that. So I think we need to get used to the idea that the line has shifted between what used to be the public you and what now is the public you, and what used to be the private you and what is that now. I want to talk today a little bit about the public you, and I want to make it clear that I think that there are a lot of things that we do that maybe even we consider private that we should know if they ever become public will basically destroy us, and that there are other things that we do that should be private that people, if they found out, would actually laud us for doing that, would say, oh, you're a wonderful human being for having done that. But I want to talk today on the public you on the Daily Summation from Kurt's Religion and Politics. I'm your host. I'm Kurt. Today is Wednesday, the 8th of December of 2021. Welcome to everyone who's here on Rumble, on the podcast, on YouTube. And the subject for today is going to be the public you. Let me go ahead and go through my notes really quickly so that you can have some idea exactly what it is that I'm going to be saying. You know, obviously this is part of what I say. So in any case, I'm pretty sure if you found out that I was a serial killer, you wouldn't ignore that when it came time to decide whether I should have a job in your company. You may be asking yourself, why would I say such a thing? Well, allow me to clarify. Having dispatched a number of humans has nothing to do with your business, right? Can you think of a more ridiculous statement? It would be hard for me to imagine one. So, when some politician, candidate, or nominee for public office tells you he or she won't act on his or her long-held beliefs, why should or would you believe that person? Forgive me for saying so, but if a public official has good morals and is a person of integrity, I want that individual to act like it. Conversely, when somebody can be shown to have suspect character, I count on that person to do likewise. That is to show what they are, right? When someone sits before Congress or stands at a podium and says something like, I know I said this or did that, but now I intend to uphold the public trust, why on earth would anybody believe what they say? Why would they? Why would you do that? I don't care if they're a left-winger or a person on the far right. If I can look at their actions or statements or both, right, and see a pattern that makes it clear where they're likely to take things, I should expect to get exactly that if they make their way into some public position. Right? It doesn't take a genius to figure any of this out. Of course, I should do likewise if they end up in some private entity. And I'm not telling you to ignore that reality either. Don't bring them into your company or into your household or whatever if you find that they're a horrible human being. Right? Obviously. That said, if a company or private group decides to bring an evil or immoral person on, you have the ability, generally, not always obviously, to tell them to take a flying leap. And let me just tell you, that's what you should do. That's not nearly so true for someone in public office. I get that people change. It's totally possible for someone to do a quote 180, right? We know that. Thomas Sowell is known to have said the reason he backed away from Marxism or something similar, I don't remember if it was communism, Marxism, or what, was that reality smacked him hard in the face or something to that effect. That's basically what he said. He said reality was what changed my mind. It is patently obvious that Dr. Soul is no longer the person he was when that happened. Yeah, it's patently obvious that's true. Only to the point that for decades he's taken a totally different direction, right? So it's pretty obvious that it's the case. You can look at what he's doing now, who he is, and so forth, and you can see that he's not that person. When that happens, I'm not arguing you should hold his past against him. That said, the public you, the one people can see today and look back in history to see no change in, is what we should be looking at when somebody seeks to inhabit some public office or other. Okay, done with my notes, so that's fine. Let's go ahead and do my little setup that I do. Here's what I'm trying to get across to you. The public you is wider, is larger than it has been in past. That's life. You need to get used to it. You need to expect it. You need to count it the case. And for some reason I'm having a little bit of problem with drooling today. In any case, you need to know that it's the case and you need to deal with it. Right? People are going to put things out there about you that you really would rather not see put out there. My answer to you is to work to be a better person, both privately and publicly, but to realize that the second somebody has a video or a recording, an audio recording, or whatever, something that you've written, you need to own it. I'm not saying you need to say, I haven't changed my mind. I'm not saying that saying you need to say I'm unrepentant. I'm not saying you shouldn't say that I was a stupid kid when I said or did that. I'm saying you need to own it. Yeah, I did that. I acknowledge it. I did that. Right? And you need to understand D'Souza's thing that he took from, I think it was Ben Franklin, where he talks about the idea of public virtue, right? You need to understand that. And you need to understand, too, that if you put yourself in a position where you're not eligible for some particular thing, I don't do the church thing. Why? Because I'm not eligible to be that minister for multiple reasons. And I own that. It's mine and I own it. If I felt God telling me himself, Kurt, you need to do these things, I would go, well, okay, and I would do those things. But my understanding of where I am at this point is because I've been married more than once, I'm not really qualified to be a public minister. That doesn't mean that I can't act appropriately, can't speak appropriately as a Christian. It just means that I can't act in the official capacity of a minister, as far as I understand it. The same thing is true in political office. If you go to get into political office and somebody says, well, what about this that you said or did? And you say, oh, I didn't mean that. Then, quite frankly, I have a word for you. One way or another, you're kind of a liar, right? Whether you want to admit or acknowledge or accept that or not, it's true. If you say to me, yeah, I said that was 10 years ago, no, I don't believe that anymore, and you can look at my past and you can see where the change occurred or where I started to move in a given direction, and you can as a result say that I'm not the person that I was at the time that I say that, I go, well, okay, that's an argument that I can get behind. But when a person tries to tell you, oh, I didn't mean that, or that really wasn't what I was trying to say. Now, if you say somebody took me out of context, that's a different matter, and that's something to discuss and consider. But the point is, what you say, who you are, the public you, is what people should be looking at when they decide that you should go into some sort of political office, or quite frankly, any workplace anywhere as well. And that's what I kind of wanted to get across today on the Daily Summation from Kurt's Religion and Politics. I'm your host, I'm Kurt, and today is Wednesday, the 8th of December of 2021. That means tomorrow will be Thursday, the 9th of December of 2021. We're working ever closer to the weekend. We're in the middle of that work week today and getting to the end of it. Thank you for everyone who's been here on Rumble on the podcast on YouTube. Again, welcome as well. But the point is I actually got out thank you today. How's that? The subject that we've been talking on today is the public view, and tomorrow we're going to talk on the subject of electric cars, and there's some pretty important things that I think need to be said that I brought up in a tweet. Excuse me, I'm going to talk about Twitter for just a second, something I normally don't do, that I started to talk about, but that of course I had to be really brief when I said that is not what led me to think about talking about this. This is something that I've felt the need to talk on for quite a while. Hope you're having a good day today. Hope everything is going well for you and that you're having a nice sort of trip towards that weekend. And hopefully we will see you again on Thursday's edition of the Daily Summation from Kurt's Religion and Politics. The speaker on this edition of the Daily Summation is Kurt Schubert. This video was recorded on Wednesday, the 8th of December of 2021. The Daily Summation is created for Kurt's Religion and Politics. Thanks for watching this edition of the Daily Summation from Kurt's Religion and Politics. I hope you found it entertaining or instructional, or maybe both. If you want to see more from me, you can go to blogs.kpschubert.com. That's blogs.kpschubert.com. I am on Twitter, Parler, and Minds.com. My handle on each of those is @kpschubert. That's @kpschubert. I have a Rumble and a YouTube channel. They are the Kurt's Religion and Politics channels on Rumble and YouTube. I have a Facebook page. The Facebook page is Kurt's Religion and Politics as well. I am on Patreon. If you want to support me, that's one of the better places you can do that. And you will find me at Kurt's Religion and Politics on Patreon. I have a podcast. The podcast is podcasts with an S .kpschubert.com. That's podcasts.kpschubert.com. I think you should be able to find me with relative ease on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Spotify as well. The best way I find to do that is to look for Kurt's Religion and Politics. You can try to use the Daily Summation. I find that it doesn't work as well as a general rule, but you can always try that. I'm glad to have you aboard today, and hopefully we will see you again tomorrow.